We start this morning with breaking news that North Korea has agreed to freeze development of its nuclear weapons arsenal. We're turning right now to Adam Horvath. He's our international news editor, and he knows all about it. Pretty momentous stuff that, was sort of brewing over the last week, but we weren't paying that much attention in the public. What's happened?
Yeah, they had these talks that were the first ones since the regime changed over and Kim Jong-il became the leader, or part of a more complicated leadership structure.
After the death of his father.
Exactly.
Right.
So these were the first talks since then, and that wasn't that long ago, so there were some hopes associated with it, but the U.S. said coming out of it's really no different from the old regime as far as we can see. But then, surprise, we have a deal on freezing the nuclear program in return for shipping food aid to North Korea. Now, in a way, it's absolutely right to say that this is no different from the old regime, and that's the thing to realize. These deals have been made and broken over the years before, since North Korea pulled out of the Non-Proliferation Treaty back in 2003, and certainly since they tested their first weapon, they said, nuclear weapon in 2006, there has been this pattern of get attention, make a deal, get food, particularly after a drought or other problem, and then just go back.
And then the deal just goes away. Then they just start development again.
Exactly.
The let's suppose for a moment that the deal holds. The nitty-gritties of this deal is they will freeze development of nuclear weapons arsenal and the long-range missile programs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the specific food aid, what exactly is it that we're shipping to them in return for this?
Well, now you've got me there. I'm not sure what foodstuffs we're shipping.
I read there was 240,000 metric tons of food aid. So that's sort of what we will give them. They also asked the U.S., though, in return to make sort of a general statement that they weren't out to dismantle the North Korean government?
Yeah, the U.S. made that statement. That was part of the deal, that it is not trying to change the regime, remove the leadership in North Korea by any means. Of course, the U.S. is not trying to do that, so it's not really a problem to make that statement. They don't love the regime. They've got a lot of problems with the regime, and it's not only about the nuclear program, but they're not actively trying to get rid of it. And so that was a way for North Korea to be able to turn and say to its people, we got an assurance from the West that despite everything we worry about, they're not trying to attack us.
How important do you think that particular statement was in this deal? I mean, we sort of look at it here in the U.S. and we're like, why would they ask for that? But how important was it for them to be able to go back to the people of North Korea and say, at least symbolically, we have the president uttering this statement out of his own two lips?
Right. I think it's always difficult to try to be too confident about what the thinking is of the leadership of North Korea. Nobody really knows, but certainly what they need is to take things away from any deal and to look strong. And so the more that they can take, so that it doesn't look like, well, we were desperate for food, so we made a deal, but rather we won a negotiation, is extremely important to them. And for the U.S. and for the West, any time that those kind of wins are not really significant on the other side, it's like a gift. That's great. But this is not nuclear disarmament. This is not the six-party talks, which include Russia, Japan, China, South Korea. It can lead to a broader type of peace and coexistence between North Korea and South Korea and so forth. So that would be the next step to look for. This is an encouraging first step. Engagement is better than non-engagement.
Right. So just on the spectrum of U.S. defense and threats to the U.S., where does this rank sort of on a scale from 1 to 10, this particular deal, you think?
Well, if you compare it, and it kind of echoes the Iran situation, North Korea is not posing the kind of threat to U.S. interests that Iran is posing, or to U.S. allies that Iran is posing. I mean, they're not suggesting that they're on the verge of attack at the moment. They have obviously done provocative things towards South Korea, to their neighbor, but it's not on the same level or stakes as Iran. But it is two countries that George Bush famously called part of the axis of evil, both pursuing nuclear weapons, who are opposed to the U.S. So it's great to have one of them be on the calmer side, while one is clearly not.